Beautiful day here in San Marcos, Texas. It's about 65 degrees and warming up. Definitely shorts weather. It's definitely spring. And look who's back. So back in, I think it was November, I made a video introducing the Garmin G5s that we got put in the panel. Obviously that allowed us to eliminate the attitude indicator and the directional gyro off the panel. That means the vacuum pump got to come out. This is spun by the engine, which generates a suction, and it runs stuff like the attitude indicator and the directional gyro. So replacing the attitude indicator and the directional gyro with the Garmin G5s, I guess we could call that phase one of the large avionics upgrades that are to come in this airplane. Over the last 2 months while the airplane was getting its annual inspection, we executed what we could call phase two of the big avionics upgrades. We got installed an Electronics International MVP 50 engine monitor. Now this thing's pretty big. It's a little over half the size of an iPad mini, but that's okay because pretty much the entire right-hand side of our instrument panel was blank. So just to kind of illustrate the picture of how much stuff came out of the airplane when we got the engine monitor put in. So for example, like here's the tachometer telling you revolutions per minute of the engine. That guy came out, little mechanical instrument. That's maybe like a third of a pound. Then you've got the old fuel gauges, the old twin needles, and then the old oil gauges, oil pressure, oil temperature. And now that we have that engine analyzer in there, it's just crazy to look at how rudimentary this thing is. And it's just crazy to think about the fact that this is what we used to rely on in the airplane. My dad and I have done quite a bit of flying with the engine monitor now, and it's like, how did we go without having an engine analyzer? Then we've got the Hobbs meter, which was on the right-hand side of our panel. So this clock starts ticking as soon as the oil pressure gets above a certain threshold. So it just had the two electrical contacts there that were connected to an oil pressure switch. The ammeter measures electrical charge or discharge going to the battery. And then of course the ammeter discharge light that was mounted to the panel warns you when the alternator quits working. That has been removed. This little Walkman wind-up clock. This was on the left-hand side of our panel, right by the airspeed indicator. You wind it up, it runs for about 8 days. It's a clock with a sweeping second hand, which is required for IFR flight. That has been removed. The engine monitor has a digital representation of seconds on Zulu time and flight time clocks. And last but not least, these guys were removed. These were the fuel senders that were sitting in the fuel tanks. So if you can imagine, this plate mounts into the fuel tank, going down into the fuel tank, and as the fuel rises and lowers, it tells you how much fuel is in the tank. Based on resistance, I believe, is how these work. But we got new digital fuel senders put in because we took our fuel gauges out, and now the fuel gauges are actually on the engine analyzer, and they run off digital fuel senders that are inside the tanks. And I have found those new fuel gauges to almost be scary accurate. I mean, they are crazy accurate. And of course, because the engine monitor is all the way on the right side of our panel, there are rules about what has to be within the pilot's direct line of sight and what doesn't have to be. The engine instruments, or at least a representation of the condition of the engine instruments, has to be within direct view of the pilot right in front of them. So now we have two little lights on the very top of the panel labeled MVP. We've got a red light and a yellow light. Basically, if anything on the engine monitor goes into the yellow, we get a blinking yellow light. Anything goes into the red, we get a blinking red light. I understand that some people prefer the old steam gauges, the old mechanical gauges. Some people prefer the glass. Some people absolutely hate mechanical gauges. Some people absolutely hate glass. Some people are okay with both, like me. For me, it just really depends on what I'm doing. If I'm flying in the soup, I really prefer glass. For my dad and I, we do both. We fly locally for fun. We fly long distance for a purpose. So ultimately, we decided that to dress up the panel on this airplane and put all this new equipment in was totally worth it for us.
San Marcos Tower, information hotel 1958 through the weather. Wind calm, visibility 10, sky scattered 4,500. Temperature 22, dew point 13, altimeter 2972. Visual approaching use, landing in departing, runway 13. Those airmen, taxiway Delta is closed. All aircraft advised on initial contact. You have hotel.
You can of course see kind of how it's laid out, but you got the manifold pressure and the RPM oil pressure, oil temp, left fuel gauge, right fuel gauge, fuel flow, carburetor temp. We do have a carb temp probe, so when you pull carb heat, you can actually see the carb temp come up. Then we've got estimated fuel remaining based on the totalizer, based on fuel flow, time to empty. So that's based on our current fuel flow, how much time we got left on the fuel tanks. And then basically the Hobbs meter, the engine hours. And then we can set the EGTs and CHT graphs however we want. Percent horsepower, outside air temp, Fahrenheit and Celsius, Zulu time, and flight time. The flight time comes alive when the RPM surpasses 2200, and then it doesn't stop until it goes below, I believe it's 1200. Alright, parking brake is set. The run-ups, brakes are set. Fuel selector is on both. Trim is set for takeoff. Flight control is free and correct. That one goes up, that one goes down, that one goes up, and that one goes down. Elevators up and down, rudder left and right. Instruments cross-check and calibrate. Our airspeed is 0 on both airspeed indicators. Altimeter agrees, and they're both set to 972. Neutral on the VSI and the turn coordinator. Heading bug set. I'm going to close the window so I can hear the engine better. Rev the throttle up to 1700 RPM. With glass instruments, when you get an exact number, it's easier to fixate on the actual number, and people sit here trying to get it exactly 1700. If it jumps up to 1710, 1720, no big deal. Well, here's where it's a little bit different with having an engine monitor here. I'm going to check the mag. So first I'm going to go to the right mag. We get a drop in RPM, left mag out, and we see a rise in all 4 EGTs. And we go back to both. RPM recovers, EGTs start coming down, and the annunciator goes away. Now we're going to check the left mag. Drop in RPM, right mag out, a rise in all 4 EGTs. Back to both, 1700, EGTs equalize, start coming down, and the annunciation is gone. Carb heat, our mags are done, carb heat. So we're looking at the carb temp right here, and are also looking at the RPM, so we're going to pull carb heat. Carb temp comes up, RPM comes down, put it back in, carb heat comes down, the RPM is restored. We do not have a vacuum gauge, there's no vacuum pump. Amps volts, 13.5 volts, and we're charging about 1.5 amps. Oil pressure is in the green, oil temp's in the green. Throttle idle check closed. We're going to come all the way back to a hard idle.
Hotel with the motors running at Berry Aviation, ready to taxi, and we're on
way out.
part of David Wayne Hooks, Houston.
870 RPM.
Tried to call you a couple times before you didn't.
And we're going to bring the throttle back up to 1000 and set the friction lock.
Vectors in Navasota, then direct hooks.
The run-up checklist is complete. We'll go ahead and do the pre-takeoff checklist. Flaps set 0 to 10. They both come down, they both come all the way up. We want them all the way up. Mixture set best power. Carb heat is all the way in. We got the mixture full rich.
That was nothing.
Transponder squawking altitude VFR, and the heading bug is set runway heading. Doors and windows closed and latched. We'll get this window before takeoff. Landing light on, we're going to get the strobe lights on. We're clear for takeoff. The time note, 1815 Zulu is the time noted, and we're taking off runway 13. If we're not off by 26, we're going to abort the takeoff. San Marcos Tower, Skyhawk 80991, holding short of 13, Juliet, ready for VFR departure.
80991 San Marcos Tower, hold short runway 13 for landing and departing traffic.
Hold short runway 13, 80991. That's Tabria.
0991 San Marcos Tower, runway 13, clear for takeoff, wind 1706.
Runway 13, clear for takeoff, 80991. You want us to make a left turn northbound?
Left turn northbound, approved.
991. Alright, strobe lights coming on. So we set power with RPM in this airplane. However, we do have a manifold pressure indication. It's cool to have it, I guess. It came with the unit, so our final did look clear. And we got the Sierras on the upwind. We're just going to do a reality check on our heading compass. I see a 13, I see a 13 on the compass, I see a 13 on the gyro. Heels down to the floor. Use the power to the takeoff setting, which is full.
730, runway 13, clear for the option, then you can resume left close traffic.
Takeoff power set. Engine's in the green. Airspeed's alive. There's 60 knots. We're airborne. Pick up a little bit of speed and pitch for VY. 78 knots. Crossing runway 26, there's our abort point. Engine looks good. Eyes outside, eyes outside.
San Marcos Tower, Skyhook 199.40, which hotel?
Afternoon, Austin, Delta 2894 is 11-3 descending, descending via the lakes with Echo.
Delta 2894, Austin, approach, expect runway 17 right.
17 right, Delta 2894.
There's Mansfield Dam down there.
Sir, 26143, roger. I still have you on radar from Gray Approach, and just verify, or what is your on-course heading for east?
for the east of pretty much via 090 from Spiceway.
Austin approach Skyhawk 80991 request.
Skyhawk 991, go ahead.
80991, heading towards downtown from Lake Travis at 4,000. Wanted to see if we can do a couple orbits around downtown at 2,500 if you got room for us.
November 991, I think that'll work. You can proceed as requested. Just remain west of I-35 at all times, please.
We'll stay west of the interstate. We'll proceed as requested. 991, thanks. The legendary 360 bridge down there. That's Austin famous. And that little cliff face just to the right of the bridge there, Mount Bunnell. Countless people take selfies on that, put it on Instagram with some inspiring quote that they don't live by. Good old I-35. There are way too many humans on this earth. That's why I choose to see the city from above in an airplane instead of driving through it.
I have Georgetown.
Oh, the red roofs down there, orange roofs, whatever it is. University of Texas. Giga Maggies. It is a pretty city, no doubt. There's just too many people here. There's state capitol. About lined up with Congress Avenue there. Austin approach Skyhawk 80991. We're done orbiting the city. We're going to head back to San Marcos at 2,500.
Roger, thank you. And November 991 of us when you have information. I'm still showing India. I'm not sure if that's what you had before, San Marcos.
We had a hotel before. We'll let you know when we got the weather. 80991.
Thank you.
Marcus Airport information, India, 1845 Zulu weather, wind 1506, that's building 10, sky scattered, 4,500.
300 descending to the right.
229er.
Sky 5408, Austin approach. Expect runway 173.
Jumping in progress.
American 1326, contact Houston Center 134.2. Good day.
San Marcos Airport. To Gary's and for the ILS 13 approach.
Alright, volts 13.5. We're still charging.
3 kilo, Austin.
Looks great.
12 o'clock, once
And about 9 gallons a side there.
We're looking 13.
A little over 9 gallons a side. We're showing 18.3 remaining on the totalizer. So that's like the totalizer and the gauges are dead on with each other.
And you just say full stop, correct?
That's affirmative for...
Oil pressure looks good. Oil temp looks good. Fuel flow looks great. Carb temp looks great. CHTs, EGTs.
Approach guys 5408,
well,
the light chop stop
where they should be.
Between 8,000 and 8,500, and it's up to 11,100.
Increase power a little bit.
And we got new Fox in airport site.
Coast 5408, thank you. Contact approach 125.32. Good day. Skyhawk 991, contact San Marcos Tower 126.82. Good day.
Going to tower 80991. Thanks for your help. Alright, switching to tower. Over the city of Kyle now. San Marcos Tower, Skyhawk 80991, 2,500. Information India, about 10 to your north, inbound for a full stop.
Skyway 0991, San Marcos Tower, make straight in runway 17, wind environment 5, altimeter 2968. Report a 5 mile final.
2968, report a 5 mile final, runway 17 will make a straight in, 80991. Alright, we'll report 5 miles out.
Start with you at 3,400. Similarly, let me try to Foxtrot, San Marcos Tower, Port Gary's inbound. Port Gary's for 8 Charlie Foxtrot.
Alright, let's do the descent checklist. Descent, mixture, enriching, we're going to go full rich.
Close to 18 Romeo, you can start to film course, contact Austin departure.
Fuel selector is on both. Carb heat as required, we don't need it quite yet. We got the ATIS information, India altimeter set 2968. Instruments cross-checking, calibrated. Descent checklist complete.
Runway 13 for 8 Charlie Foxtrot.
80991, about a 4.5 mile straight in 17.
991, 17, clear to land.
17 clear to land, 991.
Test 2 does 8, start your base, disregard.
Alright, pre-landing checklist, brakes, pedal test, we got good brake pressure. Landing light is on, autopilot is off.
Romeo 5.5.
Seatbelt, shoulder harnesses. It's strapped in. Mixture is set for best power, we are full rich. The carb heat is coming on. And we see the carb temp come up, and a little bit of drop in RPM. Fuel selectors on both, and flaps as required. Waiting on the wide arc. We have this it's S-cool, shock-cool figure.
Charlie Fox, traffic short final.
What RAM recommended is you don't want to exceed about minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit per minute on the cylinder head temp. You don't want to cool them down too fast. You could cause a crack. There's an age-old debate about whether shock cooling is a myth or not. There's the wide arc. First notch flaps coming in, 1000. 2 1000, 3 1000.
Bravo 2.6, give way to the traffic cross runway 26 at Charlie, left of Bravo, Bravo, contact ground.
Give way to the traffic here on
We are clear to land runway 17.
Ground. 2.0, thanks.
I'm getting my yellow light blinking because the left fuel tank is dipping down below 4.7 gallons because of our pitch attitude right now. All right, about 70 knots on final. Gonna get a little bit closer to the runway and I'll drop my second notch of flaps. Wind is variable at 5. Currently I have a very light left crosswind. I got the airplane on the rollout, runway 13. Let's get 20 degrees, 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000. There's 20 degrees flaps.
Similar Charlie Fox, right at Echo, ground 2012.
Right at Echo and...
The runway made and the power comes to idle. Use the rudder to keep the nose straight down the runway.
Cessna 450 kilo.
And here's the round out, arrest the descent. And just hold her off, let the airplane bleed off energy. There was a little balloon, we came back up.
450 kilo. Diamond Falcon, runway 13.
Hold her off, hold her off.
Traffic sensitive already.
There are the mains.
Cleared only 13.
And there's the mains.
Traffic for Asia Park Romeo.
Sky 991, turn right, runway 26, hold short, runway 13.
Right 26, hold short of 1380991. So there we are, 80991 is back, finished with what we're calling phase 2 of our big avionics upgrades. Autopilot, hopefully coming soon. We're just kind of prioritizing our upgrades right now. There's a bunch of stuff we want to do to this airplane. I want to start flying IFR a lot more and get some actual IMC because I feel like I'm starting to get a little bit rusty on my instrument stuff. I know the procedures, I've been training my dad a good bit here and there, but actually flying in the system IFR and IMC on flight plans, yeah, I want to do that some more, so videos will be coming soon about that. You know the drill. If you like this video, give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, don't forget to head over to aviation101.com/store and check out my e-store. You can get some nice t-shirts, some good hats there. I've got mugs, hoodies. What else? What else? What else? Oh, the custom notepad that I was using on my kneeboard today, writing down the instructions. That's for sale at aviation101.com/store. And shout out to Lightspeed Aviation, the manufacturer of the lovely headsets that I wear in this airplane all the time. I've even got several Lightspeed headsets down there in one of those bins as spares. There's links to their store down in the description, and you can find links to the Lightspeed Sierra and the Zulu 3 down in the description as well. Go check them out. As always, I appreciate y'all watching. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay current, and of course, stay proficient, and we'll see you in the next one. We'll catch you later.